Welcome to the Great Girlfriends podcast, where we discuss life, love, laughter, and everything in between. I'm your host, Sebela, and I can't wait for you to hear all of the Great Girlfriend magic on today's show. So without further ado, grab something great to drink, grab your pen and your paper, and get ready for this week's episode. Enjoy! Hey, great girlfriends, and happy Friday. I am so excited to get into a really sticky, icky combo sponsored by our partners at HealthyWomen in partnership with Sebela. There was a survey done, and I don't want to give it all away, but I do want to say that this survey got into some of the nitty-gritty of my perceptions around contraceptive and my beliefs as a woman, and things that I didn't even know needed to be challenged. And I think there were some discrepancies that we want to unfold today and find out what's real and what's not. And so HealthyWomen brought us the expert and the woman who facilitated this survey, Dr. Allison Ottey. Hi, Dr. Sharon.
Hi, so happy to be here, good girlfriend.
I'm so happy that you're here with me. I love how we started off our conversation in true girlfriend form, because we were talking about what's happening on tomorrow. And how we all have to stay beautiful throughout our days. Are you okay if I read a little bit of your bio? Some people hate it, but I just love to share our bio. Just
a little bit.
Okay, because great girlfriend, she has, when I say a robust bio, I love reading your bio and learning about all the work that you do. But Dr. Allison Ottey is CEO of Carlton Inc. and Beautiful Women Inside and Out, and Executive Director of the Koshar Foundation. She is an energetic and engaging speaker, author, health educator, physician, and health strategist and consultant. Dr. Allison Ottey is the CEO of Carlton and Beautiful Women Inside and Out, and she serves as a health strategist for several national companies, organizations, and develops and oversees programmatic agendas with long and short-term strategies, ensuring effectiveness and achievement of goals. She is also a media personality with a presence in television, radio, and print, and one of the nation's most influential physicians and health advocates. You are doing the work, Dr. Sharon.
Yeah, just out here like every other good girlfriend. The struggle is real.
But you're doing the work and you're providing us with such great insights.
And I love it.
Yeah, clearly.
I love it. I love it because, and I love programs like this because, again, you get to reach people and empower people, particularly women, to take on their health and to not just be a quiet bystander.
Oh my goodness. That's one of the things that I've loved about partnering with HealthyWomen is that we've been able to help support and advocate on the patient side of things by bringing forth practitioners such as yourself who have so much wisdom and so many insights that we need to know that we don't even know we need to know. So I've learned so much in this journey. And even today, as I was reading the notes about this episode, I got excited because we don't really talk about contraception in this way. We talk about it at Girl What You Own. What are you using now? Are you using anything? If
we talk about it at all.
If we talk about it at all.
Talk about it at all.
But I think that there is still this idea that it's kitchen conversation and we keep it quiet and private, that we shouldn't have these conversations. And then what I'm learning is that there's so many discrepancies that are happening between healthcare practitioner and patient. So I want to talk to you about this survey, this study, I should say, that was sponsored by Sebela Women's Health and conducted by HealthyWomen that you facilitated. And tell me the reasoning behind the survey, the study, and what you wanted to discover.
Well, I was one of the facilitators, one of the advisors, and had a wonderful team of experts, much smarter than I ever will be, that are really experts in women's health and communications. And really, I am happy that we asked over 5,000 women of all backgrounds, of all ethnicities, about contraception. We asked. For so long, studies have really left the woman off to the side, and certainly now, our voice is muted in a lot of ways, but that's a whole nother discussion. But we're not going back in the closet. We're not going to go back and sit and just wait for somebody to tell us. So this survey was broad-reaching, well thought out. It is a scientific survey that is statistically correct, and was very honored to participate and make sure that all kind of views were in. I, of course, as an African-American woman, was very much interested in making sure that some of the nuances with culture were tied into the survey, and we grabbed it.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm. So when we start thinking about contraceptive, so many things come to mind from the patient side, right? The conversations that I've had with my practitioner personally have been very limited, I would say. Maybe 2 to 3 questions around contraceptive, and then we move forward. I haven't had full education on what could work for my age and stage of life, whether or not I should switch contraceptive after a certain amount of time. Should I even want, desire to have a regular period? Is that something I should look forward to at this age? There's so much that I feel has been missing from my experience. And then I'm learning in the study that there were discrepancies between what healthcare providers reported as true and what patients reported as true. So what were some of the findings that really stood out to you when it came to contraceptive?
Number one, from a communication standpoint, what doctors think they hear and what patients think they say is a little bit of a disconnect.
Okay.
As well as a large majority of women said, and I'm looking at my notes because it's so rich, 35% said, I don't know if I really can trust my birth control. That's scary.
So why are you taking it if you can't trust
So why are you taking it? And why aren't you having that conversation about, can I trust it?
Yeah.
As well as, less than half of the women in the survey said they talked to their doctor about, or their healthcare provider about contraceptives, but 74% of the physicians said that they talked to the patients.
Yeah.
What is happening in that gap? And one of my areas that I've certainly spent decades on is doctor-patient communication and patient-physician communication. And I think one of the things that jumped out to me in the survey was we still have a long way to go to make sure that what I'm saying as a patient is being heard, and what my healthcare practitioner is saying to me is being heard, and somehow we're speaking the same language.
So, okay, me, having no experience in the medical industry, only being a patient, I'm thinking, what could be confusing? What, that big of a confusion that could cause such a big difference in the data. But what is it that is so confusing about communication? Is it that there's confusion, or is that there's not communication happening? What do you think is taking place?
Well, think about it. You go into the doctor's office, you check in, you give your insurance card, you do all of this stuff, and then you get in a room and you sit there a little bit and wait. I always am challenging patients to make sure there's a list as we get older, that somebody is with us, and that there's a plan. We have a shopping plan. Okay, Black Friday, whatever, we have a plan of how we're going to attack a sale. You need a plan and how you're going to engage your healthcare professional. And there's so many things to talk about. There's so do I have diabetes? Do I have thyroid? What else? Oh, and by the way, I still am getting a period. Well, am I menopausal? What can I get? All of that. And so often it's mumbo jumbo. And you're not speaking the same language, or you're trying to get it in because you got 10 minutes. Let me get it in. And heaven forbid I have to have a pap smear and a breast exam. Okay, so now I got to get dressed and be naked. Right. It's all happening at once. And I think part of it is memory. And remembering, well, actually he did talk, or she did ask, do you want to be pregnant? Or are you still wanting to have children? Or, what about birth control? And let's think about contraceptives in a different way as well, because not all persons that are on hormonal or non-hormonal birth control, it's to prevent pregnancy. There are some times that you are on these medications because you're a woman and it's part of your reproductive health, and you're managing something else. And that's particularly true for African-American women, with the huge number of us that have fibroids and all of that. So that's a whole nother rabbit hole. So I think that's a lot of the disconnect, but you need a plan, both The doctor has a plan typically when you go
Mhm.
in, but you lead that discussion.
So, okay, when it comes to leading that discussion, how do we, as patients, know appropriate? How do this is going to sound crazy to you, I'm sure, but how do we know what's appropriate in response and what's not? Like if we're saying we've been on, a birth control for 5 years, right, and we don't trust our birth control and we're looking for something else, how do we know what should we then expect from a doctor? How do we know what's appropriate in response?
So, number one, there's no inappropriate question.
Okay. Mm-hmm.
None.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
And please do not lie.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Yeah.
You kind of know, right? Oh, and why would you? If you
Yeah.
don't trust that you can have an open conversation in the most
Yeah.
intimate setting there is, a person that is touching your body, a person, particularly we're talking about reproductive health, is
Mm-hmm.
looking at the boobies and looking at, the vajayjay.
Mm-hmm.
If I can't be honest with you, I don't need to be in the room with you.
Yeah.
Why? Why waste my time? So
Mm-hmm.
there is no inappropriate question. And you should talk about reproductive health. You should say, I'm sexually active or I'm not. I'm in a monogamous relationship or whosoever will let them come.
Mm-hmm.
There's no judgment there.
Right.
And that's what I had audiences all around the country. There's no judgment. Let's
Mm-hmm.
just take care of you. And so what is appropriate is to say, hey, I've been on X, Y, and Z. I really don't want to have children, or I actually do want to have children in about 3 years, but not 3 years. Am I protecting my ability to have children? As well as, well, I'm really done with that part of my life. And what should I do? How should I navigate? I'm having sex or not. It's an anecdotal study or story of one of my OBGYN friends who's a very prominent person, newly married, wanted to have children, but was having sex once every other month. And she was like, yeah, you got to have sex. I mean, it's not, not
Well,
immaculate
there's
conception.
two conversations happening there. It's like, okay.
And the conversation went another way in a couple months. But all of those things have to come to the table. So there's no inappropriate question. And you should ask, I've been on oral contraception for 20 years. What is that doing to my health? What is that doing for whatever? Or I'm in perimenopause. Do I need to still be on? You need to have those questions. And I will talk about later, three things that every single time you go to the doctor, you got to come away with an answer. I don't care what it's about.
That's good. So then I want to talk about race and whether or not it plays a role in what the data showed you around our trust with birth control or contraceptive or differences in how we view it.
I love, now let me give a shout out to this study because I've been on the front lines for, again, decades saying, not only do we need to have women in studies and hear the voice of women and women in clinical trials, but hey, we need to make sure we have diversity and that we're not basing all of medicine on Caucasian women or Caucasian men, whatever. And so this study, about 20%, so we oversampled for minority women. 20% were African American and Black, 23% were Latino or Latinx and Hispanic, and 6% were Asian. The remaining 47.3 were Caucasian. So I want to give a shout out as we designed the study to get diverse groups that look like America.
Yeah, well done.
One thing that we found out is that women are women. We are women. If we're born biological women, we all have some fundamental issues. When we talk about trust, of course, there are variations in trust in all of medicine. I don't care if we're talking about toenail fungus. An African-American woman is typically, because of life experiences and experiences in our culture, has some trust issues. That's just the reality of where we are. But trust and particularly the ability to say, I believe in the effectiveness of my birth control. All of those came into play, and the doctor-patient communication. A lot of it was not statistically significant that we were all women. But then when we dug a little deeper, and some of it we reported, some of it we didn't, you would have an outlier that said, well, no, I don't feel comfortable at all talking to my physician. And we know there's a gap. We know that babies, I say this all the time, babies like to see babies on TV. We actually, and there are studies that show that we like to interface with physicians and healthcare providers that look like us. There is a trust factor. Well, that's not going to statistically happen. And that's why we need to make sure that all women are empowered, no matter who is on the other side of the room, taking care of you, that you're equipped to enunciate, that you're equipped to pull forward. And just because a physician or a healthcare person looks like you doesn't mean that they're culturally competent. So the differences in African Americans, no, I say that all the time. When I'm teaching doctors that look like me, and I said, we can be racist. We can be biased. So when we talk about that, the communication and the trust level and the willingness to discuss the issues, certainly if you have language barriers are there for other minority women, that also creates an issue.
Okay. So, and how about socioeconomic? Was there anything that shows that your class or your whether or not you're in an urban or rural area affects your dialogue or your trust in that relationship, or any of that show up in the data?
Not that I want to report from a statistical significant standpoint, but certainly look at from a very practical standpoint. I am originally a Southern girl, a Southern woman in rural America that has no OBGYN in any of the area, and it is difficult to get access to care, which we know there is a difference in access to care. That will be different, because then you really do have language and educational barriers. As well as, do I have health insurance? Is my contraceptives covered versus not? We know that things kind of come out differently. And one of the other pieces is, as it relates to hormonal therapy versus not. The majority of women said that they actually did not want hormonal therapy. But the majority of physicians prescribe hormonal therapy.
Which is interesting, Dr. Sharon, because I thought that was so interesting, because I'm like, is it that doctors are just doing what they feel is in the best interest? Is it disregard for patients' desire, or is it that patients are not clear on what they're asking or saying?
All of the above.
All of the above. Your face is like, yes. Okay.
Yeah. All of the above. Because you say, I don't want hormones, but I want to have an injection.
So then you're gonna get your hormones,
Or I want X, Y, and Z, but I don't want hormones, but I really don't want to use a condom. I want what we do. I mean, and now it comes to, and this I'll tell you, if you need to really have a discussion and say, I really don't understand how an IUD works, make it simple for me. Right? You can say that. You're not going to be looked at like you're stupid. No, it is. And I tell physicians all the time, it's just like going to a mechanic. I know I'm 50,000 degrees, went to school 111 years. But when I take my car in to the dealership, I'm like, how much is it?
Because I don't know.
Now, don't talk about the pistons. I don't know what a piston look like, but I know how much money is. Make it plain. Tell me how I need to navigate. And I don't feel stupid when you're getting ready to take my money to say, what do you mean that engine? And if you don't tell me in a way I can receive it, I will get my keys and do what?
And roll
Go
out,
to
go to
another
somebody
dealership.
else. That's right.
Why won't we do that with doctors?
Well, I'll tell you why, Dr. Sharon,
Mhm.
because getting appointments can take an eternity, right? And so
That's right.
they can. Getting an appointment can take an eternity, especially if it's a doctor that is highly sought out. Like if it's a doctor you really want to see, you waiting 6 months to get on the calendar. And sometimes people don't want to wait that long to be, 3 to 6 months, sometimes even with a great doctor. And you can get in quickly with a doctor who is not as great, who doesn't have as heavy a patient load. So I think that that's a big part of it. And I also think there is this idea. I've heard a lot of conversation around this, just in trusting whether or not there's true confidentiality and with doctors. And it could be because of, I don't know, seeing some doctors on television and being afraid that some of your information can come up casually in conversation with another doctor. The 6 degrees of separation are now 2, if one may, one may. So I think there's also some of the idea of your information. If you get to a certain place or stature in life, people have more concern about how much of their information is being disclosed publicly and who do you trust.
And that is exactly fair. I will say, good girlfriends, that if your information, your private information ends up anywhere other than what you have agreed to, you have hit the lottery, honey. Go find a lawyer. Because you hit the lottery, because there are so many steps in place, and physicians are human. Nurse practitioners, PAs, nurses are human. But this is what I have to say. Are we as concerned about some of our information getting out that is not related to our health? Some of us never want anybody to know how much money we make. Somebody never wanted what, how is it that I can talk to a financial planner, put it all on the table, but now I want to hold back
the body
with my body? Because let's also say, and this is because I'm always challenged on how long it takes to get an appointment. You have to be tenacious. Even as a physician, you have to be tenacious. And just because a doctor has availability does not mean they are not great. It just means they said, no, I only want 10 patients. And I'm going to always hold one patient one day open for new patients. So there are some things that people are doing that are saying, I'm burned out, I'm tired, I'm not going to see 40 people a day. But the other part, and now is a good time to bring in what people need to do. Number one, be tenacious. Number two, hardcore. Sorry, I'm Dr. Sharon. I'm known to keep it real.
Okay.
We will wait for a hairstylist.
So true.
We will go to the hair salon. I don't anymore. Shout out to mine, who knows you got about an hour and a half. Right. You better get me out.
Not doing the waiting game anymore.
But we will wait.
Yeah.
I went to the mall yesterday and there's a gelato store. The line was wrapped around. There's no way I'm going to wait an hour, hour and a half to get some ice cream that I don't need.
Right.
Why then do you go to the doctor's office and have an attitude when 30 minutes later you're sitting there?
Yeah.
I'm just asking, how long do we wait on a concert? And so I need us to begin to think about, when we're talking about contraception and getting back to this and talking about trust and talk about the different methods, and do I do hormonal, do I not? Am I perimenopause or not? You better tease that stuff out, because if you're in your 20s and you're gonna now wait, which we see that you want to prolong having children for your career or whatever, you better talk about, well, being on this now, is this going to impede my ability to have children when I want to? And now we know there are other social things and political things going on that, a woman and her body, we're having some challenges there. Wow. So when we talk about this aspect, it is so personal. And I say things a little funny, but I really am real. It is so personal. I need us to take the reins and say, this is my body. This is very personal, because this is my reproductive health, and or my daughter's reproductive health, or my mother's reproductive health, whatever. And I am going to be an equal partner
Mm-hmm.
in my health. So I'm going to ask these 3 questions. It's called Ask Me 3. I helped develop them several years ago.
Okay.
1, what is my main problem?
Mm-hmm.
Why is it important?
Mm-hmm.
And what should I do? We're talking about contraception. I don't really want to get pregnant now, or I do. That's what we're talking about. Or I have fibroids, or I've had miscarriages, or I've been on the same hormones or non-hormonal, or I'm doing whatever for years. The problem is, how do I address it?
Mm-hmm.
Why is it important? It's important because we want to maintain fertility or not.
Right.
3, what do I do about it, and what are my options? And then weigh the options.
Mm-hmm.
If you think less about what a physician presents you as options for your medical care, if you think less about that and just say, versus going to a shoe store and trying on 4 pair of blue shoes and analyzing each one to see which fits you better, you have a problem. It's your health. And it's how do we say, this is my health, my body, and I'm going to take it on more than a sale, more than buying a car. At the end of the day, this is me, and I want to be a healthy woman, and I want to take control of me and my body.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Somebody's getting that conviction right now. They're like,
Church, honey, church.
It's happening because when you think about it, we do prioritize other things that are frivolous that we won't care about next year. We prioritize them well ahead of these appointments. And then these questions, the questions that you gave us are so detailed that they do give us permission to ask, it gives us a full rounding. It gives us permission to ask the questions that we may be afraid to ask or not quite have the language on, but it also requires a response, a clear response from the practitioner. So we're not.
I love that you said that. It requires, and this is what I say all over the country.
Mm-hmm.
If you can't talk to your doctor, talk to your good girlfriend
and
ask them, seeing,
Mm-hmm.
how's your doctor? You now get referred to somebody else. And then I have to say the real practicality is access to care.
Yeah.
Access, and you talked about it a bit on number 1, can I get an appointment? But I have this insurance or I have no insurance. And I do just have to step back and say, please always go to healthywomen.org, the website, because that's a great resource. But we're talking about reproductive health. Women in every state have access to free pap smears and free mammograms. Okay, just Google your state. So the access is there. And then I have to be real and say, I'm in Maryland, so to get my hair done is about $70, whatever. If I could spend $70 at the hair salon, I can find the resources to seek care and do what I need to do to get care from a provider. And that is what is the value to me. I'm not talking about those that do not have those resources, but I talk to professional women all the time. They're like, oh, my copay was $20 on whatever, but you're carrying a $4,000 bag.
Yeah.
I told y'all I keep it real. I keep it real.
I'm like, ooh, that math is not math. Yeah, no. So we've got to rethink how we see. And you know what I realized, Dr. Sharon, as you're speaking, the more that we treasure our bodies, the more that we, really, really treasure. We treasure our wardrobe. We treasure our shoes, our careers. We treasure our relationships out on the outside. But the more that we treasure our bodies, and treat our bodies, like the treasures that they are, the oasis that it is for us, because there's only one. There's not a backup coming when this one wears down. And if this one gets neglected, there's not a HGTV resurrect the body type scenario happening. It's not no makeover here. This is it. But the more that we do that, I think the more we can take those progressive and proactive steps forward to continually honor our body. Our bodies really don't ask much of us. I think we just run through them, and I think we could do a better service at that. And I also think when it comes to contraceptives specifically, many of us started into that conversation as teens, and it was awkward, it was uncomfortable, and there's still that mindset, that awkward, uncomfortable mindset around it. I think there's some growth that we can stand to do as women to become more progressive in how we do speak around it. Just think about it. It was, teen years, as mom's in the office or whomever, and the doctor's asking or making recommendations, and it is weird. And, and then I don't know that we grow out of that or grow or evolve into having more womanly conversations that give us the space to own it. You know what I mean?
Own it and understand that there are alternatives.
Yeah.
There is not just a pill to shove down. There's
Yeah.
not just an IUD. There's not just a condom. There are alternatives, and there are options that you should feel comfortable talking to your physician about what works for you. And you started off this conversation by saying, well, I've been on this for a long time. Should I be changing? What happens as we're moving through and now I'm perimenopausal? You don't want a oopsie baby. That's the sidebar. I don't want a oopsie baby because you got 50-year-old women walking around here and have not gone through menopause totally. But think because the period is gone every other month that, oh, I'm good. No, you could have a little babette. You have a little babette. You'd be 100 walking around here with a 12-year-old. So have those conversations. Not just and reproductive rights also mean what is allowed by my carrier versus not, and get politically active to make sure that you also have a voice in women's health, my rights to choose whatever I need as it relates to contraception. Then this survey really is, how do we get more engaged? And I'm glad 5,000 women spoke.
That's amazing.
And somebody needs to listen to what we're saying. And we need to ask other questions. And we need to challenge physicians and make sure that the survey is widely spread so that patients know you are empowered to talk about contraceptive health, and physicians know you are empowered and patients want to talk about it, want to. And the other thing I just want to say is this may take more than one visit. It may be, well, I don't understand everything. Okay, I know I just had 15 minutes. I'm going to schedule a follow-up just to talk about this and make the decisions for my health. And that's okay. It is okay. And don't feel rushed. Now, you can't go have lunch and dinner in the doctor's office and lay out on the couch and go to take a nap. But don't feel rushed that, hey, and don't be upset. And this, I get a lot from patients. Well, they're having me come back to go over lab work. Why is that? Why not? I mean, we follow up, we'll buy a dress and get it tailored and go back.
Exchange sizes 3-4 times to get it right. Yeah.
Yes, exactly.
Oh, that's so true. Oh my goodness. Great girlfriends. Dr. Sharon has given us the business. She's given us so much to think about. Thank you so much, Dr. Sharon. I am really appreciative of the work that you all did on the study.
Oh, yes.
And again, in Great Girlfriends, it's available at HealthyWomen.org. You can actually go look at the data, the insights are there, the infographics are there, and it's really insightful because I saw myself in the study, and I was like, oh, that's me too. Ooh, that is me. All right. A lot of things that I didn't even realize I was carrying as as guiding beliefs around contraceptive that showed up in the study that I related to. And even in this conversation, I have to recognize that I have changed stages of life and I need to revisit conversations to find out what's for now. What's the contraceptive conversation now? Because I don't want an oopsie baby. I'm not.
That's right.
I don't know, I bet I don't want it.
And has this survey showed women want 3 things from contraceptives? They want it to be safe. They want it to be effective, and they want it to be affordable.
Yeah.
And all of those three are different based on your stage in life.
Interesting. I'm so surprised they didn't want to not gain weight as
Yes.
one of the.
Well, no, that is always on the table. That's always on the table. But again, safe, effective, and affordable, and right for me. You know, and right for me. If you're having sex once every 5 years, do you really want to take a pill or do something long term?
Right.
So have that conversation, because when you talk about contraceptives, let me just whisper and say, you got to talk about sex.
Yeah. Yeah.
And we said that in the corner, but it's okay. Be free. Talk about it, and talk about, especially now, that there are consequences now of unintended pregnancies, and there always have been, but the stakes are a bit high.
Yeah, you alarmed a few people when you start talking about the oopsie baby. One thing that we don't want, that no one wants to have that surprise baby. Dr. Sharon, where can our great girlfriends keep up with you?
So please follow me on my social media platforms. Sharon Allison Ottey, Dr. Sharon Allison Ottey on .com, and you can go to drsharononline.com. Beautiful woman inside and out, but also go to HealthyWomen.org, and I'll need to make sure it's HealthyWomen.org.
Yeah,
my Southern accent comes through, but HealthyWomen.org. My bio is there, and I think links there, but that is a great resource. And I have to say,
absolutely,
that we have to use trusted resources that are also culturally appropriate.
Yeah.
And Healthy Women does a great job of being the premier site for women to get information about everything, whether you're 110 or you're 15, there is information for you. So yes, follow me on social media. I'm very active on Instagram, all of that. And I'm just as crazy on social media.
I can't wait to see.
Let's keep it real.
Yes, I can't wait to see. Special thanks to Healthy Women for curating this conversation and for being that premier destination, as you said, for all things health related for women, and these data insights that are so useful for each one of us to really locate where we are in our contraceptive journey and understand the differences that we might need to be making adjustments. I love the questions that you gave us. I love that. I love those questions. They're
Ask
so
Me 3. It's called Ask Me 3.
I love that. And we so appreciate you, Dr. Allison, Dr. Sharon, because you did tell me do not call you after the first one. It is Dr. Sharon and not Dr. Allison Ottey. So thank you so much for being with us today. Healthy Women, thank you for curating this conversation. And great girlfriends, please do follow Dr. Ottey on Instagram. Please do DM her and let her know that you enjoyed this conversation. And any questions they may have, they can, tap her and let her pass you over to a resource. There we go.
Exactly.
Yes. Thank you so much. Have a wonderful day. Thank you.
Thank you for having me. Loved it. I'll be glad to come back anytime. Thank you so much.
All right, great girlfriends. Did you enjoy this week's episode of the podcast? If so, would you please give us your amazing review on iTunes? Every single review helps another great girlfriend get plugged into the podcast and the community. Speaking of community, make sure you join our Facebook group at The Great Girlfriends, follow us on Instagram at The Great Girlfriends, and on Twitter at @the_great GFS. I'm Sebela and I'm out. Peace.